Today, Remembrance Day is observed around the world, but if you ever travel to Belgium, you will find an area and people that remember every day. From 1914 to 1918, Flanders Fields was a major battle area in the First World War. Before the World War started, the area was just an ordinary part of Belgium countryside, made up of small villages and farms. For 4 years, the war was fought in trenches that covered approximately 9 kilometers of land, which is the distance from the old hospital to the new hospital in Oakville. And it has changed the landscape and people of Belgium forever. Every day, they live with many reminders of war and its destruction. In 1914, thousands of young men rushed to sign up in order to fight in the war. Many of these young men were anxious to get fighting. Everyone thought that the war would be short and end before they got there. In fact, there were even boys as young as our grade 8 students that lied about their age so they could go and fight in Europe. It was believed that the youngest British soldier was 12 years old. One of the most visited sites in Belgium is the grave of Private Valentine Joe Studwick. He joined the war when he was 14 years old, and he died 1 month before his 16th birthday. His death became a symbol of the shameful use of such young boys in war. During World War I, people called the war the Great War and believed it would be the last war ever fought. Sadly, that is not true. Visitors to Belgium today go and pay their respects to these soldiers in many cemeteries. There are over 14,000 tombstones for soldiers and memorial sites for soldiers that we lost at war. At the Meaning Gates Memorial, there are 54,389 names engraved in stone panels. These soldiers were missing or believed to be killed. These soldiers were never properly buried. Their families and friends must have been so devastated when these soldiers did not return home when the war ended. As a sign of respect for these lost soldiers, every evening since 1928, the last post has been played at 8 o'clock sharp. This evening, that ceremony will take place for the 30,125th time. One of the most impressive monuments in Flanders is the Canadian monument called the Brooding Soldier, which stands at Vancouver Corner. It is a tribute to those that experienced the first gas attack in April of 1915. When you stand at the Canadian monument, you are actually standing on Canadian soil. The Belgian government donated the land to Canada. The monument is very tall and can be seen from miles. At night, it is illuminated. In the area, the monument is called the Canadian. Beside the statue, the Canadian government has left a visitor's book for people to sign. It is amazing to see the number of people who have simply written, "Thank you," or "We will never forget." Many people who have relatives that fought in World War I that visit this area or other sites often leave personal messages or small wreaths in remembrance of their loved ones. The war was fought from the trenches. During the cold winter months, the trenches could not offer soldiers protection from freezing weather. Guns had been blazing for months leading up to Christmas 1914. But on the evening of December 24th, soldiers from both sides suddenly began singing Christmas carols. This led to gift exchange and a soccer game on no man's land. All fighting stopped during this Christmas truce. But such truces don't happen during war. Strict orders were given to all soldiers to never do such a thing again. Nearly 1.5 billion shells were fired during World War I. And 100 years later, many are still causing havoc. Farmers in the area are still finding bombs in their fields every day. You will often see shells covered in clay sitting on the side of the road or in telephone poles. The government has a special agent that will pick up bombs every day. 100 years later, some of these shells are still killing people if they are not found and destroyed properly. Everything in Flanders area has been rebuilt since the war ended in 1980. Nothing is more than 100 years old. Everything is completely destroyed during World War I. You can see the total destruction in pictures. Many cathedrals and buildings were built exactly the same as historical ones that were destroyed during the war. The remembrance poppy has been used as a symbol since 1920. In fact, there have been so many visitors in Flanders Fields that there were not many poppies growing in the fields last summer. They had been picked by thousands of visitors that had gone to pay their respects in Flanders Fields. Fortunately, poppies are easy to grow. They do not need proper planting or much care. Once seeds are scattered, even in only a little bit of soil, they will bloom wildly. They must have been the only sign of life and hope in the destruction of war.
Remembrance Day is an opportunity to pay respect and honor all those men and women that lost their lives in war. It is a chance to think about the sad fact that World War I was not the war to end all wars. We remember and pay respect to families and friends who lost their lives fighting in all wars. We also remember the thousands of brave men and women who today continue to put their own lives at risk to protect our rights, freedom, and way of life.
We say a special prayer of remembrance for all the lives lost and ask God to keep all our armed forces in His loving care.